Today is Thursday, August the 10th, 2023. I am Tracy Caine with the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program at Oklahoma State University's Edmond Low Library. Today I am talking to Jim Anderson in his home in Edmond, Oklahoma. We will be talking about Jim's background and how the Distinguished Chef Series started at OSU and how it has evolved over the years. Upon agreement with Jim, this interview will be archived at the OSU Library for future generations. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me today, Jim.
You're welcome.
Let's begin, please, by telling us about yourself. Where were you born and raised, and what was your early life like?
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in Enid, Oklahoma. Went to school there. After high school, I journeyed over to OSU for a degree in animal science. And after graduation from there, it was during the Korean War period, and so most of us went directly from the graduation into the service, and that.
Oh, gosh.
And the draft was still going there too. But anyway, I'd gone through ROTC, so I was commissioned and went into the military. I went Air Force, and also married Jane Hackelman, my wife, and I finally got stationed over on Okinawa and spent 2.5 years on Okinawa on a radar site, and so from there we journeyed back to Stillwater. At that period of the history, there were very few jobs available. It was right after the Korean War, and veterans were coming back, and so I wanted to get a job because I had a wife and children,
Mm-hmm.
but ended up getting into a master's program at OSU with the help of the Veterans GI Bill, and spent a couple years in animal science, and after that I was hired by Wilson Company. They had a large meat packing plant in those days in the stockyards in Oklahoma City, and I went to work for them, and then I kind of got the urge to be a independent food service operator, and so I built a little drive-in, restaurant in the Britton, Oklahoma. And from there...
What was the name of that restaurant?
Carriage House.
Carriage House, okay.
Carriage House.
And when was that you started?
That would have been in the early 60s.
Early 60s. What kind of restaurant was it?
Oh, it was a drive-through.
Okay.
I was way ahead of the time. It was a drive-through, no inside seating, just a drive-through restaurant. And had to kind of educate the people what it was all about, how to order and so forth. But they, while I had that, I was contacted by Gene Smelser, who was at that period of time, he was kind of the king of the restaurants in Oklahoma City. Had several beautiful, nice restaurants. But I was contacted by him he and Bob Clift, to go to work for Pizza Hut. The Pizza Hut at that time wanted to develop a hamburger concept.
Oh.
They said, the corporation said they needed something to offer their franchisees other than pizza, so I was hired to help them develop that. And we built 15 restaurants in 2-year period, 2-year period. But during that period, one of the restaurants we put in was in Edmond.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, I got the hankering to have my own business. So I asked them if I could buy that restaurant back from Pizza Hut, and they allowed me to do that. So we moved back to Edmond.
And what was the name of that concept?
Called Next Door.
Next Door.
It was a full menu, very similar to like a Chili's type of restaurant menu.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had that restaurant for actually about 25 years, and which was a miracle because independent operators usually in the restaurant business last about 5 years, but we had ours for about 25 years.
Was it associated with Pizza Hut that whole time, or were you?
I separated. The name was the same and everything. I just bought the building and went from there. After I was about ready to retire, Baker McCordy from the hotel restaurant school at OSU came over and contacted me, wanted to know if I would like to come over and teach one course 1 day a week. And I laughed at that time. I said, Baker, I said, I don't have the education requirements probably to teach. And he says, you have a master's degree? And I said, yes. And he says, that's all it takes. And so I sold my restaurants and went over and started teaching full time and taught at OSU in the hotel restaurant school for about 12, 13 years. So that's my early background.
Okay. Well, let's go back to when you were in college at Oklahoma State.
Okay.
You said you left, that's where you wanted to go to school, and you were majoring in
animal science.
Other than going into the Air Force, which you did, what at that time, what did you want to do with your degree? Was it always to go into the restaurant business, or what were your thoughts at that time?
Well, when I was growing up, I usually spent the summer with my grandparents who had a ranch in western Oklahoma. And so my ambition at that time was I wanted to have a ranch.
Okay.
Until I came back and realized after the service that I probably couldn't buy one cow. I didn't have the money to buy a ranch, so that was my early ambition, was to be a rancher.
Very good, very good. So you went through the restaurant industry, kind of by chance, and got ready to retire, and they had you teaching at OSU. Was it that 12 or 13 years you taught, was it just the one class that you taught, or did it expand?
It expanded several courses. My favorite course was food and labor cost control, because I'd been through 25 years of trying to control my cost in food and also labor. And so I really didn't need a text. I had been through the ups and downs of the restaurant business. So that was what I was doing then.
Very good. Well, were you living in Stillwater, or were you commuting from Enid?
I commuted from Enid for 12 years.
Okay. You were teaching in the college. Tell me about how the Distinguished Chef series started.
Oh, that's an interesting story.
Okay.
That's an interesting story. We had just moved into a new building the school had. Brand new, beautiful kitchen, stainless steel, first class, state of the art. And when I was teaching there, I realized that the teacher was a very nice person, but didn't have the experience that the kids needed. I felt like the kids were getting a little shortchanged. So I went to the dean, Dean Caine, and asked her for permission to hire a chef to be the teacher in our kitchen. And we talked about it a little bit, and she asked me how much it would cost.
Mm-hmm.
And I threw a figure out at her, and she said, "Well, that's not in our budget. We can't do that." And I thought, "Well, we need that. We need that chef." So I went back home and thought about it for about a couple of weeks. Then I went back to her. I said, "I got an idea. I'd like to hire about a number of different chefs that I know are food operators in Oklahoma to come and teach for 1 week in the kitchen."
Mm-hmm.
And that way the kids would get the experience of some on-hand experience with the equipment and the really good professors, restaurant owners or chefs. And so I said, I'd like to do that about 5 weeks during the semester, a different chef each time.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, well, and she denies what I'm about to say next. Dean Caine said, well, I'll let you do it for a semester if you promise me you can break even. And I said, well, we'll have a little luncheon at the end of the week and sell tickets for it and try to pay for the chefs that week. She says, okay, break even. So that's how I used to say that's taking lemons, a bunch of lemons, which you get when you don't have the right staff, and make lemonade. And we did it with the chef series.
Very good. So you had 5 chefs come in during just one semester?
1 semester. It was a killer.
Oh, I bet it was.
It was a killer because, making all the arrangements for the chef and finding the ones that would come in and spend a week and so forth.
How was the reception of the public when you sold these tickets to the luncheon? Not very good. Oh,
because nobody in Stillwater knew about our luncheons.
mm-hmm.
So I had to kind of advertise and get it started, and it really didn't get started until we moved it to the night.
Okay.
And then we would. I remember the first couple evenings why we had tried to sell tickets for $25.
Okay.
For a 4 or 5 course dinner.
Wow.
And again, not too much. People just didn't know about chef series and so forth. So I would try to get people in the seats by offering it to the students for $10, just to get people in.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember if they didn't have $10, I asked them if they had 5. so some of them got a 4-course dinner for $5. But anyway, the word started spreading around Stillwater.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully today there's a waiting list to get into one of our chef series dinners.
Okay. Well, the dean gave you the command that you could do this, but you had to break even. How did that first semester go?
We didn't break even.
Oh, goodness. How did you do?
We lost, and I'll remember this figure all my life. We lost $254.75.
What was the dean's reaction at the end of the
She
semester?
said that was close enough.
Oh, well, very good. What year was this that it started?
Oh boy. This would have been in the early 80s,
Okay.
maybe 81,
Oh, okay.
81, 82.
Okay. So it was close enough that first semester. Did you then continue it the next semester, or how did the progression go
Well,
with it?
yeah, she gave me permission to go
Okay.
one more semester.
Okay.
So we went one more semester and the second semester, and of course the numbers started increasing till the point we had a full house.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember at what point it turned into a scholarship, where there were sponsors and where it had, it had a scholarship for the students?
Very early, probably in the first year, because after that first disastrous semester, we started accumulating a little bit of money.
Uh-huh.
And so we sat down with it, had a little faculty discussion about that, and we decided that, number one, it should go into scholarships for the student, and especially for the students that helped us work the event.
Sure.
And then the second one was, if we had to replace equipment,
Mm-hmm.
we could use some of those funds to replace equipment.
Good.
And that's where we started. It's been many years, so I hope that agreement's still in place.
Well, that's terrific. That's terrific. You told me one time a story about some lamb bones.
Yeah. That first semester, when we were just desperately trying to break even and get the chefs in it, we were having trouble with our chefs. They would give us a grocery list, and we would go buy. We would bring in what he thought he needed, and we gave them a budget. And I learned that some chefs don't know what a budget is. They're good at what they do. The dishes are beautiful, but don't always follow a budget. Not all chefs, but some.
Right.
So at the end of the semester, we lost that money. In the meantime, I'd hired a good friend of mine, Dick Autry, from Enid. He had sold his cafeteria and had wonderful experience. And I invited him to come to Stillwater and teach in the kitchen, in the what they call quantity kitchen. And I said, Dick, your first task is going to be getting our chefs on a budget so we can break even or make a little bit of money. And he says, okay. And of course, Dick had a cafeteria that was the most popular cafeteria in northwest Oklahoma. And Dick had world of experience in buying.
Mm-hmm.
So my first experience with that was when we got a chef that was coming in, and he wanted lamb bones. He wanted lamb bones to make a broth with.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted them from Australia.
Oh.
Yeah, he wanted us to go get some lamb bones from Australia. I told Dick, what are we going to do? And he says, I'll take care of it. And Dick got in his pickup and went over to Perkins, Oklahoma, where they have a meat packing plant. They asked him if they could get him a box of lamb bones. So I said, sure. And so he got it and put it in the freezer. We never told the chef where the bones, where Dick got the lamb bones, but Dick got us back on budget real quick.
The people eating didn't know whether the stock came from Australia or from Perkins. That's terrific. Did you ever have any special dinners or maybe some things that didn't work out? You said something about a lobster.
Yeah, we had a lobster feast uh, and we flew the lobsters in,
Oh.
and it was we had such a response that we couldn't handle it in our dining room. It was too small because everybody. So we contacted the fairgrounds. They had a big space there, and so we decided to cook the food in our kitchen and then truck it to the fairgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
The fairgrounds has a very steep driveway where you when you drive up to it. And that evening, we had a truck, and when he was driving up that driveway and stopped and opened up the back doorway, some of the food, mostly beans, spilled out on the paving.
Oh, no.
Because that's part of food business, you just got to adapt. But it didn't bother the lobster, so that was the main thing. We had all the lobster you could eat.
Oh.
And again, the prices then were like $30, $40 or something like that. And that, another kind of interesting, we had a opportunity to have a chef dinner when President Truman was, it's not Truman, Carter.
Oh, President Carter.
President Carter was visiting the campus.
Oh.
And so we had the opportunity to have a chef dinner for him. The person that was sponsoring us, Mr. Saratine, was a vegetarian.
Oh.
And he wanted to bring his personal chef to be there for us and do a vegetarian dinner.
Oh.
Yeah. It was not very popular.
I was going to say, how did that go over in
Not very popular. But anyway, it was a pleasure to be able to serve a president of the United States. And
it is, sure.
Yeah.
That's terrific. Were there any chefs from, you talked about bringing in chefs from around Oklahoma.
Uh-huh.
Any names that might ring a bell to some folks? Or?
Well, my favorite was Chef Siggy Eisenberg from the Broadmoor Hotel in Colorado Springs.
Oh.
He was so popular and so a big, strong German, and he really bossed the kids around. But he would also go party with them.
Oh.
And he was my favorite. We invited him back a total of 3 times over the years, and Siggy was one. We had the head chef from Disney World.
Oh, okay.
We've had chefs from several chefs from Europe that over the period of years. We've had some local. D. Allen Went from Ardmore, Oklahoma, and Kurt Fleshfischer from Oklahoma City.
Sure.
And we've just, it got to the point it was very popular, and the chefs kind of wanted to come. We didn't have to beg them.
Yeah. Have you ever had any celebrity chefs, people that were pretty well known by outside of the food service industry, maybe?
Yeah. How about Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood?
Okay, I knew Trisha as a cook. Yeah.
Yeah, Trisha is in addition to her wonderful talents, she also has written cookbooks and so forth. So we invited Tricia to be our visiting chef, and she was there for the week.
Okay.
For 4 or 5 days, and And I'll always remember Garth came for the dinner.
Okay.
And I went up to him and I said, Garth, we really appreciate your sharing Tricia with us this week because I know she's been gone. And he kind of smiled and he said, well, he says, when Tricia gets nervous, he says, she gets kind of testy. And he said, tonight, she's really testy.
So even somebody of that stature gets a little nervous when they
Yes.
do the big dinner.
I mean, all of a sudden you got 250 people to feed.
Right.
You know? And with students, by the way, the students are different students almost every dinner.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be the same group. So you have 250 people that you got to train and get how to serve 250 people a gourmet meal.
Right. Other than the vegetarian meal, are there any meals, or are there a number of meals that stand out in your mind that were very popular, and or like the vegetarian one, maybe not so popular?
We very early in our series, we invited a chef that worked for a food distribution company. And when he arrived, he spent the first couple of days just visiting with the kids. And usually we're starting to do some early prep. And so it wasn't until the day before the dinner that this truck drove up with boxes of frozen food. It was not up to par with what we like to serve. One of the most fun events was we did a chuck wagon dinner, and brought a chuck wagon outside of the building, and then Dick Autry and I took turns had outdoor charcoal and cooking steaks.
Oh gosh!
Steaks and baked potatoes, and that's probably one of the most popular meals. that was fun. That was a fun meal because everybody was relaxed and dressed in Western clothes and enjoying a chuck wagon dinner.
Well, and that has such a unique flavor. The steaks cooked over an open grill.
Absolutely.
It makes a big difference. You told me about Brian Close from Tulsa, and maybe something that he had, something about the lights dimming.
Yeah. Brian is one of the nicest, generous alumni OSU ever had. He is just a wonderful person. And he got very involved with our school and what we're doing, and always had an open pocketbook if we needed anything for additional wine glasses, things of this nature. But we had chandeliers in our dining room, and they were very bright. So he came to me after dinner one evening and he said, Jim, he says, you got to dim those lights. He says, it's too bright in here for a fine dinner and so forth. You got to, and I said, okay. I said, I'll look into it. He says, I'll take care of the expense. You just get that done. So I called the university department that takes care of the schools and so forth. I said, come give me an estimate how much it's going to cost to put these dimmers in here. So I showed him the dining room, and he said, well, show me your electrical box. I went over and opened up the electrical box, and I remember he looked at me and looked back there, and he looked at me and he said, see these little deals right here? Those are your dimmers. So I had more fun calling Brian. I said, Brian, I just saved you a bunch of money.
Oh, did he like the size of the wine glasses that you had?
No, they were too small.
Too small.
So again, right after an event, he came. I could almost depend upon he's going to give us critique. And he came up and he says, "Jim, your wine glasses are too small." And I said, "Oh," he says, "I'll take care of it. Order them." And so next event we had, I think, really big wine glasses.
Has the wine pairing always been a part of the?
No.
Okay.
We didn't have a liquor permit.
Oh.
And I'd say it was probably in about the third year before we finally, on campus with the liquor permit. It's pretty rare. It isn't anymore, but it was then.
Sure.
And so we followed their rules, and we got about the third year, and that made it truly a gourmet meal for people that like wine.
Did you, when you started that, did you have the sponsorships of some of the different wineries that?
No, that developed.
Okay.
In Oklahoma City, the people that distribute wine and liquor and so forth helped us get acquainted with the California wineries, and now for each event, chef event we have, the California will send a representative and explain to our guests about their wine that we're serving that evening.
And there are some Oklahoma State alums and people that have an association with the university that have sponsored. I know there are a couple in Oregon that I have been acquainted with, and they do a nice job of hosting and featuring their product.
They do, and it makes a fun evening.
Are there any other stories that we need to know about that maybe people wouldn't know, some of the behind the scenes things that went on that you can tell, probably some that you can't tell or shouldn't tell? But.
I'm trying to think. We had the alumni that Bruce Snyder, who was at one of our hotel restaurant school graduates, that went to New York and became the manager of the 21 Club. The 21 Club is one of the really top New York. It was. I thought I'm assuming that it's still hard, but anyway, he became the manager of that. So we had a evening we called it an evening with the 21 Club.
Okay.
And Bruce brought a book about the 21 Club and gave everybody there a book.
Oh.
And it was a fun evening. I'd like to say a little bit about the kids that make this thing possible.
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot of credit that I don't deserve for the TIFF series. I had an idea, but the ones that really get the credit are the students. I'd like you to think about the challenge that chef has coming again. He has 4 days to teach, cook, serve 250 people, sometimes 300.
Mm-hmm.
He has a group of students that have volunteered. We didn't pay them to come to serve, or cook, but they were in our school. And you want this wonderful experience of working with a chef, sign up. So there's a piece of paper on the door there, and they sign up. So the students are never the same for every event.
Mm-hmm.
And and normally most of them have never served that many people. So I'm always amazed at how in a 4-day period that chef can teach and execute on the night of the dinner. It's not always as fast as I'd like to see it be, but they really do, and they're all volunteer, and it's I just, like I say, I'm amazed that enough of them would sign up. A nightmare if not enough show up,
Right.
know, or maybe there's a basketball game that night, maybe they may not show up, but they show up and they get the wonderful experience, and some of them work every event. And I've told them sometimes, I said, someday you're going to be in an interview with Mr. Marriott, and he's going to say, what is your experience in serving banquets? They can say, well, I've served several 250 people. I know how to do that. I know how to do that. And that the kids and the faculty too. The faculty back up. Gerald Leong was a doctor, professor that worked in the dish room every event we had. He was there helping wash dishes.
Gosh. Well, that's terrific. Do you still attend some of the?
I do.
Very
good. We I enjoy it.
They're terrific events, and certainly make a name for the School of Hotel Tourism Management, Hospitality Tourism Management, at Oklahoma State.
I'm glad you brought that up because to me, for years, it was a school of hotel and restaurant administration. So I always say hotel and restaurant administration. I'm glad you cleared that up.
Well, thank you so much for taking your time today to speak to us, and thank you for your idea that lost $200 and some odd that first semester, but it has sustained itself and become quite an event and quite a compliment and complimentary part of that school.
Yes, well, I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.